Hey y'all, this is Pam from Rockin' Resources. Are you ready to rock your teaching? I think Luna just came over to visit us for a little bit. I'm sure she'll be back. So today we're going to focus on motivation again, and we're going to focus today on games. Things that you can use whenever you're doing some concepts, some tough concepts in your room, or review, great for review. And it's a great way to motivate the children and get them wanting to learn. So also today we are going to raffle off 2 TPT gift cards. TPT is Teachers Pay Teachers, for those who don't know. And many teachers have stores on there and offer some great resources for you to use in your classroom or homeschool or even parents. So today we're going to raffle off 2 TPT gift cards, $10 gift cards that you can use. And also there's a sale going on today and tomorrow, so you can get the sale and use your gift card. We're going to do a random raffle. So all you need to do is to comment. Maybe you can tell me things that you're looking for in your classroom, resources that you need, or something that you might need to work on and need some help or guidance that you might need for your classroom. So you could just put that in the comments. And my assistant, Demi, who is with me tonight, will do a random at the end, and we will raffle off those 2 gift cards. All right. So she will also be working on the comments because, as I told you before, I am not great with comments and speaking at the same time, but I'm working on it, and we will answer all of your questions. Demi's going to go ahead and answer anything as we go, and then at the end I will take time for questions and read everything thoroughly, so you can always ask questions towards the end as well. 2 weeks ago we started Facebook Live, and I've done Facebook Lives in the past, but we wanted to start a little series to go along with my motto. So Rockin' Resources stands for motivate, educate, and differentiate. So you always want to motivate your students, of course, and find ways that's really going to get their brain a-ticking and get them engaged and want them to really, truly enjoy learning. Educate, of course, you're all going to do that. If you're a teacher, you're educating. You're going to put the lessons out there. And the lessons that I like to talk about are step-by-step lessons and explicit learning and trying to really dive deep into the students' brains. And then we have differentiation, and that is just ways that you can differentiate in your classroom because there's so many kids that have different learning needs. So today we're going to focus on motivation. All right, so the first thing that I have that is very useful in the classroom is a game called I Have, Who Has. So what it is you have the little tickets and you print them all out and then you shuffle them up and you have little tickets that say I have, this one says I have dysfunctional. This is from a Greek and Latin unit. And actually I have a Greek and Latin unit for free if you want to try any of these I have, who has, or if you need some ideas for Greek and Latin stems. This can be used for anything, whether it's vocabulary or you have different study things that you want the kids to learn for a unit, but you can go ahead and do the I have, who has. So basically what it is you'll have it all organized first. So this would all be on one sheet, and you would organize it first like I have dysfunctional. Who has the prefix for meaning great? So then the next person who has that card would speak up. So the kids really have to start thinking. They have to be thinking, okay, all right, this is what card I'm waiting for, and oh my gosh, okay, I have this card, I have antiseptic, and I need to really be waiting for, you know, that one to come up, because whenever their question is asked, they got to chime in. And it's a great learning tool because you get the whole class involved, and you could do it in groups, you could do it in whole groups. And for those homeschool moms out there or parents looking for ideas, this can be done at home too, because you can scatter the cards around, you can share the cards, you can give them to family members, and if you have any study any study buddies that do the same thing that you do with homeschool, you can have a little study time and get together and do this, because the kids really enjoy looking at the card and trying to figure out what's next. That is I have, who has. The next one, oh, I love this one. Okay, the next one, I get so excited over this stuff. Okay, the next one is called expert. And I don't have it in front of me because when I did leave the classroom a few years ago, I left all of my stuff for the person taking over. And whatever I had left, I gave away to a whole bunch of new teachers. So, but this is called expert. Expert is a great way to get the kids really, really excited. And I use this a lot with like the end of a unit test. When we were reviewing, we were looking at the study guide and we were trying to find great ways to study for our test. We would get, well, how I did it, and I know everybody does everything different, but when you're in a large classroom, say 25 kids, so you want to break them up into groups. So this one has 6 people who can play at one time. And the white button down here is what you have control over. So you can clear the buttons at any time. And what they do is they, whenever you ask a question, they get to buzz and it lights up over here. So they're buzzing from these and the little eggs are what's lighting up. So you see who's first and you let them take their turn to see if they get the answer right. And then you get to clear it with the white button, which is really cool. So how I did it, though, is I broke the kids up into groups, and each group came up to the table, and the other groups were off to the side studying, getting ready for their turn. And then we went ahead and had our little time together in our small group. And the kids would get so excited, and there'd be so many belly laughs. I'm telling you, we would giggle, giggle, giggle because, you know, someone's trying to hit the button and they don't hit it fast enough, and we're just laughing about, you know, just making it a light activity so that they're learning and they're having fun at the same time. But we did laugh a lot. For homeschool moms, I have an idea for you. There's little things out there called these little buzzers. And what you can do with the little buzzer is you know, you're not going to be competing against anybody, but you can buzz real quick and have them answer that way. Or if there's 2 or 3 people doing it the same way, you can have just those buzzers. And that's a great thing about this too. Like if you have any kind of group, you can turn off the other ones. You only have to use how many people that you have in the group. You don't have to use all of them. So that's the beauty of that as well. And then what we would do in my classroom is at the end, we would have a big finale. So the winner of each little group would come up and they would compete against each other and compete against each other to see who was the big winner of the whole class. So that is a great idea, especially for studying in big units, but it can be done with anything that you're studying or reviewing in class. Okay, the next thing I would like to share is what we call snowball fights. And if you're not familiar with snowball fights, then I'm going to explain it to you because the kids love this too. So what you basically do is you could do this ahead of time or you could just do it randomly. You know, it's all up to you and what time you have to prepare. So like sometimes I would do it, I would have it all ready, and what I would do is I would put a question on a bunch of different pieces of paper, however many kids are in the classroom usually, and we would crumple them up. So a lot of times I use recycling paper, and we would scrunch them up like a snowball, and we would throw them in the classroom, and then the kids had to run and get another little ball, and that's the question that they would ask. But a great idea as well for this to do it in groups. So what I would do is you would have a small group, maybe 4 or 5, depending on how your classroom is, and I would have all the questions ready ahead of time. And the kids got to scrunch the ball up now because that's important. They want to have fun. They want to scrunch the ball up. So they would have the ball all scrunched up, and they could only throw it to the next group. because Mrs. Oliveri already had them all prepared, and she was all ready for them to make sure that they learned every little question that I needed them to learn from that unit. But like I said, you could do it randomly where the kids ask the questions. So anyway, when you do it in the groups that way, then the kids would throw it to the next group, and you can even have them try to catch their snowball, or however you want to do it, depending on how rowdy your class is or whatever. You know, you decide on what's good for your class. But so we would throw them to the next group. They would answer those questions and then throw them to the next group. And you can do it individually. You can have them answer all the questions from, you know, the one group together. It all depends on what you're truly trying to get them to know. So that's just a variation of different ways you can do a snowball fight. Now, if you're a homeschool parent, of course you could do a snowball fight. You could just put a few questions. I mean, you wouldn't want to do 25 or 30, but you could put a few questions on some piece of paper and have your child throw them around or catch them, or you guys catch them together or whatever, and they open them up. Just just touching it and scrunching it and throwing it just gets them excited and says, oh, wow, you know, this is something fun. So that is what a snowball fight is. And if you've never done it in your class, it's time. My next idea is basketball. Okay, this was also one of our favorites. And I know there's so many games out there, and I truly, truly, truly want you to share some of yours as well. But this is one of my favorites. So I always had a group of sporty girls and boys in my class. So I always try to do something sports related. And then I always try to do something that wasn't too hard for those who weren't sports related too. So tossing a little basketball in a trash can, I mean, that is not too hard. So there's two ways that I've done it. And one way, like say we did a vocabulary basketball game one time where we actually went outside, and I cleared it with the principal that we were going outside, not on a recess time. And when she heard we were doing vocabulary basketball, she was like, oh my gosh, that's so much fun, go for it. So what we would do is we'd go outside and the kids would just take turns. You know, I would ask them a question, or if we had, you know, one school, we had a couple of basketball hoops right next to each other. So we got to have different groups do it at the same time. But you ask a question, they throw the hoop. And they get a point for their question. They get if they get the question right, they get a point for getting the hoop. But in the classroom, just set up a little trash can. And I always kept this tiny little ball in my desk for, you know, anytime I needed it for something like that. And the tiny little ball, you know, we would use with the trash can. So I would put a little line, and the kids had to stand behind the line. And I always let them get points for both. So, like, you know, some people say, well, they can't do a basket until they answer the question. I decided not to do it that way because, you know what, not everyone's going to know all the questions, and you want them to feel comfortable about this game, and you want them to be excited about playing. So let them go ahead and throw the basket, even if they don't get the answer. So give them 1 point for each. And then, you know, you could do it in teams. So we did that in teams. So this team would go first, then the next team, and you'd just go back and forth and tally up how many points each team had. And it was really fun. We had a ton of fun. And of course, you could do that at homeschool too. I did that actually with my own child. We did basketball hoops when we were studying some vocabulary with him, and he had he was big into basketball, so that really helped. But you know, at any time he answered a question, he got to shoot the hoop, and it kept him moving and thinking at the same time, and it was very helpful for him. So that is basketball. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is Jeopardy. For Jeopardy, I'm sure you've seen all the cute little Jeopardy games. I mean, there's tons on TPT, but you can make your own. If you just Google free Jeopardy templates, you'll see all kinds of stuff come up, and you can use them to put your own information in. So what I did is, anything that we were studying that was a big unit, I mean, it is time consuming, I have to say. And I have a few of these in my store, but I haven't made them I made them mainly for my classroom, so they weren't, store ready. But I have a couple, like a reading review and a speech one and a social studies one. But I made a lot of them, and I would just use them for the time being and year after year, because once you make them, you can use them year after year, which is awesome. So anyway, you can Google the templates and do them yourself, and you just follow through with the questions. And it's just like Jeopardy. And I would give the kids the rules for Jeopardy and how they were going to do it. And we would add our daily doubles and double Jeopardy. And of course, you have to have your final Jeopardy where you have your hardest question ever that you're not sure who is going to get. But we would keep score, and some of these templates, actually, you can keep score right on the template. But we would keep score on the whiteboard or chalkboard, whatever. And I always had my little scorekeeper who got to help for the day, which was fun. And it was great. But I did it in a group setting. Okay, so this is how I did it. So I broke the kids up into small groups. As you can see, I love the little small group thing because I like kids to collaborate together and to learn together, because not everyone's going to know the question, but if they're collaborating and hearing the answer, sometimes that's going to settle with them. So I think that that's okay. And I would strategically put the kids in their groups so that not all the kids who were really good at that particular subject were in that group. And I would put them, scatter them out so that there were a lot of people thinking. And what I did is, within that group, everybody had to speak. So whenever it was that group's turn for Jeopardy, and it wasn't a buzzer. We didn't do like a buzzer like for this person to do it or that person to do it. Here I am talking with my hands again. And I'm not Italian, but I'm married to an Italian. So what we would do is just take turns with the groups, because the buzzer thing for the Jeopardy game was just a little bit too confusing, and I wanted everyone to have an opportunity. So what we did is we circulated throughout the groups, and I told the kids, you still need to pay attention even if it's not your group's turn, because you never know, like we might play this game again tomorrow and you might get that question. So what they would do is there was one person in charge, and that person would be the one who would have to speak. And of course, with Jeopardy, they have to say a question. So, they had to prepare it. And I had my little timer, and they, of course, back in the day, we didn't have all these cute little timers on our phones or on the smart board or whatever. So I would sometimes just count, or you could use a timer from a game or something, but a lot of times I just counted 10, 9, 8, or whatever, to let them know that they have to really think fast. And they collaborate within their group and decide who's going. Well, they already know who's going to answer, because I tell them that they have to rotate within their group, and they have to set that up before we even get started. So they know that, hey, it's your turn. Hey, it's your turn. And those are the ones who have to speak for the group. So even if it's a child who struggles with that subject and is reluctant about standing up in front of the classroom, well, hey, he might be very excited about answering for his group because, they're all working with him. So that is what I did with Jeopardy. And I hope that that helps you as well. And homeschool moms, you can still do this too. You can go through the whole thing with your child and just tally up how many points they get, and maybe have a goal. If they get like a certain point, they get a certain reward or something like that. But this doesn't have to be done in the classroom. And I try to make sure that there's different modifications for different groups that are working on games. Okay, the next one we have is headbands. We have headbands. And headbands, you all know, in case you don't know, I'll put that up again. is everybody has a card on top of their head and they have no idea what it is. And they have to try to guess what it is. Well, why not do that with social studies? So here we go. I'm Battle of Bunker Hill, and I have no idea that I am Battle of Bunker Hill. But you know what you do, you go ahead and give them the rules of headbands and how it's played, and then the kids have to ask their questions, and they can only ask yes or no questions to try to figure it out. So depending on what it is, if you're doing social studies, you'd want to come up with questions that the kids can ask. So what I did is this. So like for social studies, if you're doing a cumulative review, then here's some questions that you can ask. You can ask, am I from blank era? If you're doing a cumulative. Okay, if you're just doing one unit, that would be different. But if you're doing a cumulative, am I from blank era? So the kids could say, am I from the Revolutionary War era? Am I from the Civil War era? Whichever one. And then within each era, they can start asking questions from that era. Am I a loyalist? Or they can go ahead and ask different questions within the unit. So some of the ones that they can ask are, am I a person? Because we all study the people within the units. Am I an event? Am I a battle? Am I a group of people? Am I a document? So you can have these set up, just like the regular headbands has like generic questions, you can have this set up as well so that the kids can have some generic questions in front of them and be able to ask the questions for the yes or no. But they are all related to yes or no, so they have to keep guessing until they figure out who they are. So that is a very, very fun game to play, and the kids get so tickled, and so do I, because I love when they're having fun and learning at the same time. Okay, I saved that one for last because I knew that would mess up my hair. All right, so I have a lot more to share with you, but I don't want to take up your precious time. You guys are so busy all the time in the classroom and preparing for tomorrow's lessons and everything like that. But if you have some other games that you find are really useful in your classroom, I would love for you to share them with us. And I'll get all this together and put them together in a blog post for everybody else who can benefit from it. Because you know what, guys, it's all about sharing. How can we share with other people what truly works in our classrooms? And some of these tidbit things, sometimes you might think, oh, well, I need to do that, but other people don't. And, just one little idea. If you got one little idea from me today, then there you go. It's a win for me because, I'm just here to share. So I hope you gained some great ideas. And if you want to get some more ideas, you can go to rockandresources.com. And of course, you get any kind of freebie when you join the newsletter. You get sent a freebie right away. And with my newsletters, I always give my members so much more than you would get from just listening. So you will get freebies, you'll get first dibs on sales, you'll get ideas for blogs or tips. Sometimes I put tips in there that aren't even included in blogs. So you get all of that straight to your inbox. Now we are going to rock on out right now, and I hope that you go tomorrow and rock your teaching.